Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Week 13 edition of the Sunday Sideline Report here on the SIN YouTube channel. I am Mike Rifkin. Hope everyone had a fabulous Thanksgiving. Hope you're all getting ready for Cyber Monday tomorrow. Know how much of a big deal that is to people who, like to shop. Me, like to talk about football. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the games today. There's a playoff clinching scenario, at least for one team that I know of. We're going to break down the Thursday games. We're going to break down the Friday game as well. There's another coach let go. We'll dive into that as well. But let's get ready to roll. Let's start with the Thursday games on Thanksgiving. Of course, we had the two mainstays, the Lions and the Cowboys, had their games. We also had a Thursday night game, which is, I guess kind of new if you want to get into that. And then we had the second annual Black Friday game, which better game than I think people thought it was going to be, myself included. But let's dive on in. We'll start with the first game on Thursday, which was the Lions and the Bears. I feel like every year it's the Lions versus either the Packers or the Bears, but digress on that. Game saw the Lions defeat the Bears by a score of 23-20, moving the Lions to 11-1. The Bears go to 4-8. In the game, Caleb Williams, 20 of 39, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns for the Bears. DJ Moore, 8 catches, 97 yards and a touchdown. Keenan Allen had the other 2. Jared Goff, 21 of 34, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. David Montgomery had 88 rushing yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 73 receiving yards. Both Goff touchdowns went to Sam Laporta, who had 3 catches, 2 of them for touchdowns. So, and again, Sam Laporta. Whoa!
Good morning.
Look who's here.
Hello, sir.
First of all, I thought you were going to stay in on the chat.
Nah, I changed my mind.
All right. So I don't know how to make like noises on this thing, but a round of applause to welcome back the old ops guy.
Good.
How are you feeling?
Getting better after the triple fusion. So we're getting better. We're getting better slowly. I figured this was a good day just to come in and pop in and say hi, hang out for a little bit.
If you do decide to leave, you do know, you
Yeah.
can go at any point.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So I did you watch? I'm presuming you watched most of the games on Thursday.
Oh yeah.
All right. So I just got started. So let's start with the Lions and the Bears. And I want to start with the ending because in my 31 years of life, I don't think I've ever seen a clock mismanaged more than what Caleb Williams and Matt Eberflus did on Thursday.
It made no sense what they were waiting for, and absolutely deserved to go bye-bye after that.
Mm.
No, I mean, you look at what Caleb Williams did. He started off horrible. He really did.
Oh, yeah, the
And
whole team.
like nothing could get working. And Jared Goff looked great, going steady, hitting this receiver, hitting that receiver. Hats off to Laporta for catching the touchdown. And then, like always, Caleb Williams turns it around and becomes Superman. Like everyone is projected this guy to be, except he couldn't complete a pass for one person from my parlay the bastard. And we all thought we were going to have a Thanksgiving miracle, but instead we got treated to clock mismanagement.
And I mean, to let, I don't know what it was, 30 seconds. I'm sitting there,
Roughly.
I'm sitting there and I'm going, son of a gun, call a time, someone call a timeout. Call a timeout. And then the back of my mind, it was like, all right, he's letting time go. They're going to call the timeout with like 3 seconds and then just try the field goal. And then it's just like, the game's over.
Yeah.
And I'm going, he never called the timeout. How do you not call the timeout?
It cost them at least to tie. It wouldn't have been to win. It would have been to tie, and then we would have went to overtime.
I, and it ruined, or to quote the great Stewie Griffin, it ruined what would have been a epic Bears comeback.
And look, I'm not gonna say that I was not very critical of Caleb Williams when he was going number 1 in the draft. I was one of his biggest haters. I still think Jaden Daniels deserved to go 1, but neither here nor there. Caleb Williams has beyond have me eating humble pie and has proven week by week why he deserved to be the number 1 pick. His problem reminds me of a lot of star teams' problems. Slow starts. And when you're playing from behind, you lose an aspect of your game that you want to have as its forefront, and you have to abandon it so you play catch up. It was a good attempt, though.
I mean, I can't get over that. They were down 16 to nothing. They clawed their way back into this game, only to lay an egg.
Yeah.
And that would be the final egg Matt Eberflus laid. He was fired on Friday. Happy Thanksgiving. See
I
you later.
I mean, look, yes, I agree the man had to be fired. You could have done it the next day. I mean, not to do it on Thanksgiving.
To me, like we knew the writing was on the wall because it'd been rumored for a long time.
Yes.
And apparently there was a meeting after the game and between ownership and the GM and they decided that in there that he was getting fired, which was listen, it's fine by me. But here's
Oh,
the
it's
thing:
it's absolutely fine. I just would have given the guy time to enjoy his
um,
holiday.
imagine had they said this to him just right after the game. Happy Thanksgiving. Don't even get on the flight.
Yeah, yeah. You have to get your own flight back. Here's your luggage. I mean,
Well, in hockey terms, Gerard Gallant, who used to coach the Rangers and the Florida Panthers in Vegas, when he got fired from Florida, they wouldn't let him on the team flight, and they had him take a cab to the hotel.
um,
So at least you had that going for you, Matt Eberflus. Um, one other quick thing on Eberflus, then we'll flip it to Detroit. The next coach of the Bears has to be an offensive line. It has to be a guy who can help Caleb Williams in his development. It's gonna have to be a guy who listen. I'm not gonna put a dictation and say the Bears have to make the playoffs next year, but I would like for a little bit more competitive spirit. I'll put it that way.
there are plenty of coaches out there that will fit the bill. Besides the ones that are being fired now, there's plenty of opportunity at the season's end to nominate a new coach. There's going to be plenty of them out
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But flip it over to the Detroit Lions. And listen, I've said it on here and I've said it on Wishbone Shotgun. The Detroit Lions are the best team in football. And I don't regret saying it. I will not regret saying it.
there.
But
But
the
you're
one
right.
thing that could hold them back are injuries. And they're starting to get banged up on
Yes, they are.
defense.
And so are a lot of teams, not just Detroit. This is worse than last year's injury problem.
Yeah. So, and the other thing on Detroit is I felt this game turned around right before halftime when Jahmyr Gibbs had that fumble right near the end zone. I was like, he puts it in, it's pretty much game over.
Yes.
He fumbles, the Bears wind up kneeling down and then they, come back in the second half. But without that fumble, who knows what happens? But
Mm.
the Lions, offensively, they have so many weapons. Montgomery and Gibbs is the best running back duo in the league. Then you want Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Tim Patrick's making plays for them.
Yeah,
Jamison Williams isn't doing anything stupid at the moment. And look, they have fun offensively with what Ben Johnson wants to do. He almost had Penny Sewell throw a pass.
yeah, yeah.
And
Just like when they did that to Dallas. Yeah.
offensively, they give it to you any way you want it. Defensively, they Jim Nance was talking about this on the broadcast. They may get Aiden Hutchinson back at some point, which is just
Well,
sick to think about.
I think there's plenty of time for him to come back playoff wise, and Detroit will definitely be there during that time.
Oh yeah,
Um, you know, the report is the surgery went well, and he's now in the recovery phase. Everybody heals differently, and trust me, they need him on defense.
yeah. In the NFC, they are going to need it, but man, 11-1, and I've always been in favor of Coach of the Year, kind of being the shock story. I don't know if I could deny Dan Campbell as Coach of the Year this year. Like for the longest time, I was Team Dan Quinn, but now that the Commanders are kind of slipping, Sean Payton we knew was an established coach, but we didn't think Denver was a particular playoff team. And listen, as much as I respect Mike Tomlin, I just can't give him Coach of the Year because I already know how good of a coach he is.
Uh, right, Tomlin's in his own world. I mean, we don't have to worry about that. I mean, when you look at coaches around the league, I mean, yes, of course, Dan Campbell right now is the front runner, but don't look away from Buffalo. Don't look away. I mean, he hate to be such a critical son of a bitch, but don't let Dan Quinn slip away. If the Commanders can make the playoffs, he deserves some
Oh,
type of nod.
absolutely.
Losing to the Cowboys is not always something easy, but it was not a loss that anything but a mistake. So,
Losing to the Cowboys. Uh,
what a
they
segue.
great segue because now the Cowboys have won 2 in a row.
And if they're lucky, they can win three in a row. Get a nice
Are
10-day
you
rest.
buying in?
I, I'm, I'm not. I have never bought out. I have never bowed out. I've been pissed off. I've been angry, but that's one way to describe a passionate fan is somebody who, no matter how bad their team is, and trust me, God, this is horrible, they still keep coming back every year for more pain and whatnot. Does this Dallas Cowboys team have a chance in winning the NFC East? No. Philadelphia is too good. And I mean, pretty much enough said. Are the Cowboys going to make a wild card unless a lot of things happen and fall their way? Maybe. Would that make my day? Yes. I don't think the Cowboys are going to amount to the playoffs. Beating the Giants, though, now see that just makes the holiday even sweeter because I don't care if we don't make the playoffs this year. If we don't make the playoffs this year, fine. We have enough excuses. But we beat the Giants and we beat Dan Quinn. That's what matters.
All right, so the Cowboys won 27-20 over the New York Giants. Cooper rushed 21 to 36, 195 yards and a touchdown. Rico Dowdle, 112 yards on 22 carries and a touchdown. First Cowboy running back in like 26 games to go over 100 yards. And I was trying to do the math in my head, and I was like, is Zeke the last guy to do it?
Yes.
I was like, all right. And Kevontae Turpin, 4 catches, 53 yards. Brandon Cooks had the touchdown catch in his return. For the New York Giants, Drew Lock. Yes, I said Drew Lock, not Tommy DeVito, who was out with a forearm issue. 21 to 30, 278 yards and an interception. He also had 57 yards rushing and a touchdown. Malik Neighbors, 8 receptions, 69 yards. They finally realized, yeah, we drafted this guy in the first round. We should probably use him more.
Yeah.
And that was the cherry on top of a great news week for the Giants, a week of which they demoted Daniel Jones, then subsequently put Daniel Jones on waivers.
Which he was picked up by Minnesota.
Minnesota has signed him for the rest of the season, which we could dive into later. Uh, and then it came out late Tuesday that Tommy DeVito was dealing with this forearm. And then it came down Wednesday, Drew Lock was starting, which meant for a lot of people, scoop up the Cowboy defense in your fantasy leagues, which
Yes.
I may or may not have done. And there was a pick six involved, and there other great stuff for the Cowboys. I want to say this. We'll get into the Cowboy part. I know you did. I'll get into my thing on the Cowboys in a minute. I had a very interesting conversation Tuesday night during the Gridiron show where we previewed the 3 games. It was myself, Dan, Bill, and John. And one of the things we talked about is where do the Giants go in the future? And we all know the quarterback is not on this roster at the moment. Drew Lock's not your answer. Tommy DeVito. If Tommy DeVito was your answer, I would still like to know what the question is. But the ultimate question is this. And when you're on things like Twitter and Facebook and all social media sites, you're going to get different opinions. And it is, are Brian Dable and Joe Shane going to be able to lead the next group coming in? Now, because correct me if I'm wrong on saying this or if you disagree. If the Giants are taking a quarterback in the draft, whether it's Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, whoever you want it to be, I don't love this quarterback class. I would have taken one last year, but that, again, whole nother conversation. If you're going to take a quarterback, you cannot fire Brian Dable after 1 year with this new quarterback. He's going to need 2, maybe 3 years.
Agreed.
So if you're the Giants, can you go through another 2, 3 years with Shane and Dable? Or are you better off making the change now and letting the new coach, GM, picking who they want?
I think you make the question an easy answer. Well, for most people, it's time to start letting loose dead weight, and there's no more dead weight than Brian Dable. The Giants are going
He
nowhere.
lost the weight in his head too when he shaved it.
Yeah, the Giants are going nowhere. Not to say my Cowboys are going anywhere greater either, but the Giants are going nowhere. You pretty much, like Mike just said, have to agree that the Giants are going to be going quarterback round one. They're in the position right now to be in the top seven, if I'm fair enough to
I think
place it
right now they're
anywhere.
they're two.
Okay. And there's, I mean, it's not the great, like Mike said, it's not the greatest quarterback class, but it's not a bad one either. There is plenty of names from back to Sanders. I mean, but we'll see. If the Giants decide that they're going to get a new quarterback, then dump Dable now, get somebody who's going to agree that when this new quarterback comes in, you're going to be there to bring him up to major league status, so to speak.
All right,
The
so
worst thing you, sorry, the worst thing you can do for a rookie quarterback is have him with a coach for 1 year, then that coach fire him, and then a new coach comes in and puts in a whole new system, and that makes it
what happened to Bryce Young last year? Frank
exactly.
Reich gets fired after 10 games. And we saw the struggles of Bryce Young. He's starting to play better, which is
Yeah.
great. Great thing for Carolina, great thing for Bryce Young. But I played this out in my head multiple times, whether it's drafting a quarterback, and I have conversations with people about this often. I think in my mind, I've decided on if you're going to fire Dable, the guy I'm going with, because I don't think this is just a one coach issue. This has been an issue really since Tom Coughlin left, and there was that whole graphic Fox showed during the game of post Tom Coughlin, and the answer is not the guy who wears the hoodie. He's going to be
No.
coaching the Cowboys next year.
I've pretty much come to agree to that now.
The answer for the New York Giants is actually a disciple of Bill Belichick. If I am a New York Giants fan, I want Mike Vrabel to be the head coach of the New York Giants.
Not a bad
Uh,
choice.
the only way I'm not in on Vrabel is if he takes the Ohio State job, if they're going to fire Ryan Day if they don't win the national championship. But after
I
losing
mean,
4 straight to Michigan, he might get fired regardless.
Vrabel's an interesting pick.
You got to get Vrabel with a smart offensive coordinator, and you could do damage. All right, flip side it to the Cowboys. There are people in this world, Micah Parsons, who believe the Cowboys could turn this thing around and potentially make the playoffs. Now, I will not call Micah Parsons a liar because Micah Parsons can eat me for dinner.
And have room for leftovers.
But I will say this there is one layup on the Dallas Cowboys schedule, and that layup is when they play the Carolina Panthers. I'm not going to trust them to beat the Bengals next week. I'm not going to trust them to beat the fighting Baker Mayfields in a couple of weeks. And they still have games with Philly and Washington. To potentially make the playoffs, they're going to have to win out. They've left themselves no room for error.
And
But
for
I
the
will say
Cowboys,
this.
sorry, Mike.
Oh, go ahead.
No, for the Cowboys to win out, it's not impossible. It's just improbable.
Right. But I will say this. If And I'm only saying this because you're here. If Cooper Rush wants to play better and continually improve, the guy sitting up in the press box on crutches, he may watch his job go away.
Well, if you're a Dallas fan like me, this has not happened once, but this has now happened twice. If we go back to the Drew Bledsoe incident, where a young man named Tony Romo comes in and wins the starting job over Drew Bledsoe. Then a little bit of an accident and late round draft pick in Dak Prescott takes over for an injured Tony Romo. Yes, you just signed Dak Prescott to the biggest contract known to man. You're not going to allow Cooper Rush to take it from him.
No.
But I give hats off to Cooper Rush the way he's played. Mind you, this was the New York Giants, but he played well against the Commanders. I wouldn't bet for them to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, but I do say it's going to be a good game.
I'll say this. Cooper Rush is not the guy who'll take Dak Prescott's job. And I've said this to you via text, and I have
Yep.
said this to other people.
The only way it's going to happen.
Jerry
No
Jones
way.
said this offseason he was all in, and he did absolutely nothing. I don't know if Jerry Jones comprehends the words all in. I digress. Jerry Jones goes all in next offseason. Bill Belichick is my head coach for 1, maybe 2 years. And Bill Belichick says if we're going to win right now, we need a quarterback to win right now. I don't know if there's a universe that does this, but maybe there is. I don't know dead cap. I'm not smart enough. Aaron Rodgers to the Dallas Cowboys for Dak Prescott. Let's go.
I mean, if you want to play fun fantasy, let's lay it on the line. You got Super Bowl MVP Aaron Rodgers, but you also got the fact that he's 150 years old. You got the ever injured Dak Prescott. Get better, my friend, who I absolutely love. This is an exact fair trade, but the problem is length of time. Dak Prescott has, unless he breaks his neck, 5, 6 years left in this league. Aaron Rodgers, if he's lucky, comes back next year. I don't think there's a reason for him to, and that's why I thought the Devontae Adams trade was a joke.
Oh, let's be honest. I know we're not talking about the Jets,
Right.
but it came in. But I do want to give Dan his credit because Dan said this would blow up in the Jets' face, and it most certainly has.
Oh, absolutely. The
So, I'm just having fun. All right,
yeah,
so Cowboys moved to, I think it's 5-7. Am I right? 5-7.
yes.
Giants are 2-10. Again, the Cowboys will play the Bengals next week, Monday night. The Giants will play. It doesn't matter. You bet against them anyway. Oh, the Giants play the Saints next week. The Giants the Giants actually have a chance in that one. I'll be honest with you. All right. And the third game from Thanksgiving night was the Packers in a game that was never really close. They beat the Dolphins 30-17. Green Bay goes to 9-3. The Dolphins to 5-7. Now look, I
and
mhm.
watching this game, Mike, I have you can't blame it on Tagovailoa. I mean, yeah, then lost some game.
No, he threw for 365 yards and 2 touchdowns. What I blame this game on? I blame this game on three things. One, mental mistakes.
Okay.
To me, you can't muff a punt because they muffed the punt in the first quarter after they forced the Packers to go 3 and out in the first drive. Muff a punt, defense is thrown right back out. Green Bay's going to score.
Right.
Drop passes can't happen. Missed tackles cannot happen. I think they missed 20 tackles.
And there's no
No excuse
excuse for
for them.
that.
So that's one. And even one of the Jordan Brooks called the team soft. He was right. They were soft on Thursday night. They couldn't tackle. They didn't do anything well. I've said for the last 3 years and said this team needs a big bodied receiver and they need a big thumper at running back where on those 3rd and 1s and those 4th and 1s, you got a guy who could bulldoze you for a yard. I am sitting here today for the third straight year telling you you need a big bodied receiver and a big thumper at running back.
Right.
Now, for those who don't know maybe what a big thumper at running back is, think of Brandon Jacobs. Think of a Zeke Elliott
When he
type,
first came into the league.
you know. So they need that. We know they're going to have to work on the offensive line. They're going to need corner too because they're so banged up at corner. But look, they don't play well when it's chilly. Although, I thought they played pretty well in Buffalo, but I don't know how cold it was there a couple of weeks ago.
But we know how cold it's going to be there tonight.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be fun stuff. I don't know how Chris Collinsworth's going to sit there and say, here's a guy when he can barely see.
That's fun football, though.
But I do want to say this because I do want to give the Packers their flowers a little bit, or their cheese, because they like cheese up there.
Yes, yes.
Although, since Patchy can't really see, we won't tell him what kind of cheese it is. The Green Bay Packers, we called Detroit the best team in football. I'm willing to sit here and say the Green Bay Packers might be the third best team in the NFC.
It's not an
It's them or
unfair say.
Minnesota.
Look at if you want to compare the two teams, because they're right in the NFC North, it's very simple. It comes down to I say both teams are balanced except at one position, and that's the quarterback position. Um, I'm happy the year Sam Darnold has had. I think he deserves a year like this, but
Mm-hmm.
it's nothing to the amount of what Jordan Love has done and is still doing. He hasn't shown signs of slowing down. He hasn't shown signs of the first half jitters and all this stuff. So I think it is Green Bay over Minnesota for that reason.
And how about the year Josh Jacobs is having?
He's having a superb year. I mean, he had another almost 50 yards on the ground and another touchdown. He gets them the short yardage touchdowns and the short yardage points that they were not last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been great. Those young receivers have been good enough. And you know what? Jeff Hatley, who's the head coach at Boston College, he was named the defensive coordinator. He's done a really good job with his defense. That was not very good the past couple of years. They've bounced back, and they didn't have Jair Alexander in this game, but it didn't matter. So the Packers go to 9-3, the Dolphins to 5-7. And then we had our second annual Black Friday game, which saw the Kansas City Chiefs go to 11-1 as they beat the Raiders by a score of 19-17. And again, the ending of that game was hideous from a Raider perspective. But Aiden O'Connell, 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. Brock Bowers is a beast, 10 catches, 140 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Mahomes, he threw for 300 yards and a touchdown. Diop, 4 catches and 90 yards. And Isaiah Pacheco returned to the lineup for the Chiefs, which is big for them going forward.
You know, You have the Chiefs at 11-1, but are they really a good version of 11-1?
You gonna get me started on this?
No, I want short answer.
They're 11-1. I do not care how they do it. I do not care if they blow people out or if they win by one score. A win is a win.
Well, I do not believe they're the same team from last year at all. I love the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. I've always been a big fan of his. I hope he gets the resurgence year he deserves. That being said, you know, the Raiders are 2-10 and due to fault of their own, didn't beat them. You can't let a team that's 2-10, and you can't, if you look at Kansas City, they haven't been blowing people out. Why is the misuse of Kelsey? There's a lot of things going on in the Casey organization that don't make sense, but whatever it is, it's not translating to wins on the field and causing it problems.
Okay, let's not forget this is the same Raider team that beat them on Christmas Day last year.
True.
And so let's not just give the. I know the Raiders are 2-10, but listen, I'm going to give them a little bit of love. Here's what I think, and whether they could flip a switch in January, I don't know. I think that what's the mark of a good team is you find ways. This team finds ways. Now, I think two important things have happened for them over the last month plus. One was the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, and two happened on Friday, the return of Isaiah Pacheco. Because now this offense will never be at full strength this year because Rashee Rice is not playing. He's hurt.
Correct.
So that's going to hurt. But now all of a sudden, I've got Pacheco in the backfield, along with Kareem Hunt, who's going to need, deserves to continue getting touches. Now I've got Kelsey, Hopkins, and don't forget about Xavier Worthy, who's, a speedster. I think this team has quickly gone from a team that says, hey, we could hang 30 up on anybody to, you know what? If we could score 21, our defense can hold you to 20. And they're kind of right because the defense is really good. Now, could all these close games come back to bite them? Absolutely. But I don't think there is a team in the AFC that they fear. Buffalo never beats them in the playoffs. Baltimore, I don't know. I love Baltimore. I think they're great. I can't sit here and say definitively in the AFC title game, if it's in Kansas City, the Ravens are going to win. I don't know.
And
And,
there's the three-word answer that nobody likes.
and here's the other one. When you look at the AFC as a whole, it's one of those three teams that's probably going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Because there's no way in hell we could let the Pittsburgh Steelers do it.
Look, I mean, I think the Steelers somehow or some way will do something, but that's not what we're talking about.
But, so if you're going to ask me who am I putting my money on next month in the AFC, I'm not betting against Mahomes and Andy Reid. Not going to do it.
I wouldn't bet against Andy Reid. Mahomes, hey, whatever. The team that I'm watching is Buffalo. I'm sorry. They don't have all these weapons, but they're winning. And they're winning well. And I wish them the best in the world tonight because it's supposed to be like 2 or 3 feet of snow there. So be fun to watch.
72 inches was at one point what I heard.
Yeah, I mean, it's going
If
to be
you're in
fun to
that
watch.
area, stay safe and stay
Yeah,
warm.
yeah, Moser, don't travel home to watch the game tonight. We won't be able to see you. You will be covered in snow.
You'll be you'll be the real life Frosty the Snowman. Yes.
uh,
And here's the other question that you're going to have to ask yourself about the Raiders for a second. You know, a lot of people didn't love the way Antonio Pierce managed the clock late in that game. But with Tom Brady coming in as a minority owner, what does that mean for a guy like Pierce? Because Tom Brady's probably going to have a pretty big say, even though he's only a minority owner.
yeah, we're we're not given the full insight of what type of role he's gonna play besides being a partial owner. But I'm sure they're going to be looking to him at every angle to help rebuild this team for what it needs.
But I also find it weird that he's a part owner of a team, yet he's still doing these games for Fox.
I I thought you're supposed to have no allegiance, so to speak, and now that he is Raider bound, I thought he should be pulled anyway. But I guess they're letting him finish out the year because it is a contract. What?
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Chiefs go to 11-1, Raiders 2-10. Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, Daniel Jones signed with the Vikings, so there's your Sam Darnold insurance policy if something
Right.
happens. So, we talked about Eberflus. So let's get into some of today's stuff. And we got a big one in Cincinnati. The Steelers go to play the Bengals. The Bengals are playing for their playoff lives. The Steelers look to continue their really good year that they've had in the resurgence of Russell Wilson. I mean, the Bengals just have had horrible luck this year when it comes to injuries and these close game losses. But I think the last time we saw the Bengals, which was Sunday, 2 Sundays ago against the Chargers. I know a lot of teams don't like to do this, but I think it's imperative of the Bengals to find a way to keep both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I really do. I think they're both so important to each other and obviously to the success of Joe Burrow. But this team, I still feel like they are the one team still on the preface of a Super Bowl if they could keep it all together.
Right. Uh, you look at that Cincinnati team, and there's no way you can't see a triplets there. But right now, I just don't see a running back. I that they're using what they're using. Fine, it is what it is. I think letting Joe Mixon go was a big mistake. And whatever, I'm looking. You look at what he's doing in Houston. But if I was the Cincinnati front office, I'd be looking for a way to keep all these receivers with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow isn't going anywhere. He's got time left in the NFL. So you keep people he can trust catching the ball, the better they're going to get.
By the way, if the Bengals were any better, Joe Burrow would be very much in consideration for the MVP right now,
Yep.
the way he's played. So there's that. Flip side to the Steelers, they're coming off of a not a pretty loss to the Browns last week. That was also a snow game. Uh, Look, for Pittsburgh, they've got off to this great start. We know the back half of the schedule is not going to be easy for them. They're going to have to win with their defense and hope Ross does just enough. And, Mike Tomlin has done a very good job of getting the best, in my opinion, out of a not very talented team. But you know what? They find ways. Them and the Packers just find ways to be really good most year, most years.
What I want to see is we know Justin Fields is used to because he played in it. We've really never watched Russell Wilson playing in the snow. Being out in Seattle, the worst he really ever had dealt with was rain. I want to see, can he adjust to the weather conditions in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
That's still an element. That's a problem.
And here's the other thing. I think this two quarterback system hurts Russell Wilson at times because you're not letting him get into a rhythm. And once he gets in it, he gets pulled for Fields, and neither one has a particular. I don't know. It just feels like the old saying: you have two quarterbacks, you have none.
Right.
And just, running Justin Fields in a Taysom Hill like pack is just, I don't know, don't like it, don't love it.
Mm.
All right, so Steelers Bengals, that'll be 1 o'clock, CBS. Also in the 1 o'clock hour, we got the Chargers and the Falcons. The Falcons first place in the NFC South, the Chargers in a wild card position. They'll be without J.K. Dobbins today.
Which is a big loss.
Oh, talk about a guy who was having a great year. J.K. Dobbins. J.K. hasn't had that good of a year since J.K. Rowling last wrote a Harry Potter book.
Well, I mean, losing J.K. Dobbins really gives this game kind of more of a turn to the, excuse me, towards Atlanta.
Yeah.
I
I,
think that, I mean, the loss of running back, it's not that you don't have other running backs in the fold, but you don't have
the guy.
the guy. Exactly.
And this is a Charger team that doesn't have a number one wide receiver either. Let's be real honest. Although Lad McConkey's turning into a pretty good one.
He sure is. And you got to give the kid a lot of credit for what he's done as a rookie. I believe he's Phil McConkey's son of the New York Giants. So, I mean, that, another legacy version, but you got to look at Denver, not Denver, sorry. You got to look at the Chargers as a team that is trying to do everything they can to
Yeah.
stay
Jim
alive.
Harbaugh in his first year's done a really good job turning that team around. So give them credit for that. Also in the 1 o'clock hour, this is a low key fun one. We got the Cardinals and the Vikings.
I don't know how low key. I think unless Kyler Murray is the one who's really going to show up, this could be a really, really bang bang game.
This has the potential to be shootout of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fun game.
The Vikings 9-2, the Cardinals are 6-5, and right at near the top of the NFC West. So that should be a good one.
I mean, you got Jordan Addison back at full strength. Murray and Harrison are starting to get on a groove with each other. So,
Uh,
I,
One of the things I'm going to be keyed in on for that one is how Brian Flores game plans against Kyler Murray. Are you going to make him beat you with his arm, or are they going to maybe give him some run lane? I'm very interested to see how they do that. And on the
I,
flip side for Arizona, I'm going to be interested to see how they're going to defend Justin Jefferson. As you mentioned about Addison, excuse me, Addison was great last week. The Bears took Justin Jefferson away a little bit. So let's see how Arizona game plans but this should be a fun one.
yes.
Um, Other 1 o'clock games that the Commanders and the Titans Commanders looking to snap that losing streak. Uh, Texans Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence looks like he's coming back.
We,
Seahawks.
we all wish him luck.
I, I listen. The Jaguars are they're just bad. I don't know why they're just bad. We got Seahawks Jets, and Aaron Rodgers is going to love the Fail Mary game. In the 4 o'clocks, we got Bucks Panthers, Rams Saints, which is a rematch of the NFC Championship game all those years ago with the no pass interference call. Sorry, New Orleans. Uh, and then Listen, it's game of the week for a reason. It's Eagles Ravens, and it's gonna be good.
Uh, let's just split it down very quickly. You got Lamar Jackson, you got Mark Andrews, and you got Zay Flowers. Flip it to the other side, Mike, and you got
You got Jalen Hurts, you got AJ Brown. We don't know if you're gonna have Devontae Smith, but that's not even what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking about this: zone read, zone read. Lamar Henry versus Saquon and Jalen Hurts tag team match. Let's go.
uh, it's gonna. I don't know how much of an. I mean, look, AJ Brown has not been his best this year, and Devonta Smith is just coming back from injury. I don't know how with the way Saquon Barkley is playing, and I don't think anybody doubted that he was going to play any different than anybody expected him to. I mean, he has brought Philadelphia alive. The running game matchup is going to be fun. Derrick Henry and the tractor rollover, or you're going to have Saquon Barkley doing backflips and jukes and doing 1970s disco moves to get him into the end zone.
This is gonna be fun to watch. No Brandon Graham also for Philly. He's out for the year after tearing, I believe, his bicep last week. I mean, you didn't see the interview he did on Philly radio earlier this week where he kind of broke down and started crying. I would recommend watching it. It is sad, but you know. And then tonight, we mentioned it a number of times. We got the Niners and the Bills on Sunday night. A lot of snow.
That's the only reason I'm watching.
And look, I mean, the Bills have a real opportunity here to put a fork in the Niners season. Um, I don't think there's a team that's been more banged up this year with injury than the 49ers. That's not making an excuse for them. It's the God's honest truth. But I do want to say this because Debo Samuel kind of brought it up on his podcast the other day. Anyone who says Kyle Shanahan's on the hot seat is a moron.
I'm not even going to comment on that.
And by the way, John Lynch, if you do fire Kyle Shanahan, 31 other teams are going to look at him next year.
Yeah.
So Niners, Bills tonight. And then tomorrow night, we got the Browns and the Broncos on Monday night.
Go
And
Bo Nix. I am becoming a Bo Nix fan.
a little Bo Nix fan.
A little Bo Nix fan, yes.
I have no issues with him. Listen, I don't dislike him. I don't dislike Sean Payton. Other side, listen, I don't have a lot of issues with Cleveland either. So I'm Cleveland played spoiler last week. Can they do it 2 straight weeks? Who knows?
I do not know.
I'll tell you this though: if Cleveland keeps winning with Jameis, we're gonna have a Deshaun Watson conversation.
Well, we just saw what the Giants. The Giants just let what was it, $100 million basically walk out the door.
Right, but they also had an out after the season. So
Right. So they let now. I don't know how much is left on it, but we know it's pretty much guaranteed. It was 235, I believe it was.
yeah, two thirty
Something
five, 238, something like that.
I'm sorry, I don't care what business you're in. You don't chalk that up to the loss column and say, oh well, you can't. That would be like if Shohei Ohtani broke his leg and was told he could never play baseball again. All that money is guaranteed, but it's not like you can get it back. So that's what more teams have to be figuring out.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Everyone, continue to enjoy your Thanksgiving leftovers. Enjoy the football this afternoon. We got a fun slate for you. Follow us on the socials Twitter, S Insanity Real, Facebook, Sports Insanity Network. Mark, you want to give the shout out to our good friends?
Yes, down in Austin, Texas, Rudy Campos and sweep the league. My buddy checking in on me. I'm doing better. Just for all of you and all interest, we are 1 month into recovery, only 10 months to go, but we're definitely getting better. The dugout is still on its little hiatus as I am recovering, so nothing big from there. These guys are holding down the fort. They're doing great. I just decided today was a good day to pop in, so I'm glad I did.
So you went full Ice Cube with today was a good day.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone enjoy the football. Follow us on the socials as mentioned. Check out Sweep the League. They're on every night around 9 o'clock Eastern time. So check them out. Everyone have a fun Sunday. And remember, Juan Soto will be a New York Met.